And welcome back to the Midday Show. We're going to talk about a county commissioner's Facebook post. We're also going to talk about Bill Gates and his inheritance and how he's leaving it off. And we're going to talk a little bit about some gun violence statistics as well, kind of go back and forth about that before we talk about the Brooklyn Nets and Alize Johnson's chances for a NBA championship. But first, the most important question every day. Mark, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm sorry we're late. It's just been one of those mornings, and we've been kind of chasing our tail a little bit, but here we are. We are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go, and let's have at it.
The bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, where does that come from?
Yeah, I don't get that either. You're the one that grew up on the farm.
It's got to be just like a squirrel reference.
I guess. I don't know. It's a good question.
It is a good question. Scott Metzger posted on his Facebook. You know more about kind of the, for lack of a better word, the history, the timeline of some of the things that Scott Metzger has said, some of the things he stands for. His Facebook post was recently about a local library displaying books, and I will let you go ahead and take over before we dive into it, because you will certainly do a better job of telling some of the details than I will.
Well, and I've known Scott for, he's the Little League president of Townsville. I was on the board multiple times. I coached for 100 years, and I've known Scott for 2 decades. Baseball-wise, we see eye to eye. Politically, we often don't, but it is what it is, and we get along well. And he threw up a post yesterday, which has made lots of rounds. You can go on his Facebook. First, he put it on the county commissioner page, and then he moved it to his personal Facebook page. And I think it's public. I don't know if you can go and see it. It's been shared all over the place. Basically, the long.
Would you like me to read it, or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead and read it.
You want me to read it now?
Yeah.
So we'll read it right from. So this is quoting Scott Metzger's Facebook post. At this morning's Lycoming County Commissioners meeting, a discussion was held on these books that are on display at the James V. Brown Library in the children's section to celebrate Pride Month. Books that are on display titled Jacob's New Dress, Jack Not Jackie, and Julian is a Mermaid are a few. The Lycoming County Commissioners provide just under $1.3 million for our 6 county libraries. 2 of the 3 commissioners have asked the library director to remove these books from display and place them back on the shelves. These books' subject matter discuss it is okay for a brother to wear his sister's clothes, but he has to wear his own when he goes outside. Mommy and daddy say it is okay because you were born this way. These books are geared at children that have no idea of what sexuality or gender identity is at that age. And that is the end of the post.
So, I just got off the phone with Scott. Like I said, I texted him beforehand, asked him if he wanted to come on tomorrow. He's going to talk to Tony Massar, who's the other Republican county commissioner who asked to have the display room. Basically what they did, there's a display in the children's section, and they are bothered that this display is of children's books in the children's section about such topics as gender identity and things like that. And their contention is that the kids are too young to understand, and they feel like it's promoting it, or that it's promoting the LGBTQ community, or encouraging kids to be part of the LGBTQ community. And they don't want, as he stressed, they don't want the books burned, and they don't even want the books taken out of the library. They just don't want them displayed prominently. They would rather have them on the shelves. Needless to say, some people went nuts and said, the hatred bigot there. And now, if you go to Scott's post, there are lots of people that are applauding this and saying this is sinful. It should be down. And then there's obviously people on the other side who are like, this is if you are we're better to educate your kids than in a public library. So it is it's made waves. It has certainly made waves. He took it off. He first put the post on the commissioner's page. Apparently, this is what I heard. I'm not positive, but he removed it because some of the comments were so vile and hate-filled, which we would never, we had no idea that people put hate-filled and vile comments on Facebook posts. Yeah, online. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I reached out, just had a good 10-minute discussion with him, asked him if he wanted to come on tomorrow, and he's going to check in with Tony, and they're going to see if they want to come on, and we may have it. we maybe have the hot button. Who is he? What would we describe him? I mean, he is the talk of the town right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's that. I mean, my phone has been blowing up about it a little bit. Do you want to touch it a little bit, or do you want to try to save it to see if he comes?
I don't. That's a good question. Why don't we?
I mean, I don't want to say dance around it, but like you had hinted at before, like you weren't surprised by the post. Is that fair to say?
I wasn't surprised that he posted it.
Correct.
Well, Scott is, he is very Republican, and we live in a very Republican county. And I know we here cover 12 counties, and depending on where you go, they become more and more liberal. But depending on, it's North Central PA is certainly not a Democratic stronghold. So, this is a very conservative Republican position. It doesn't surprise me that the two Republicans are against it and the Democratic commissioners for it. I don't even know if people know this. I just explained this to my daughter yesterday. There are 3 county commissioners, and the rule is there has to be at least one of each party. So there will never be all 3 Republicans. Of course, there would never be all 3 Democrats, but Rick Marabito is the Democrat and Tony and Scott are the Republicans. But it touches on a lot of topics
Yes.
of educating our kids, what kids should be exposed to, when and how. It also goes into a reflection as we get deeper into society, as we go into other forms of violence and hate and discrimination, where hate crimes are Asian hate crimes are through the roof right now, and the world seems to be becoming more violent than less violent, and less tolerant than more tolerant. So so these are all the interesting topics that it blends to. When you just look at I think there's 2 big sizes. A, educating our kids. I put my hand over there. You can't see it.
Sure.
A, educating their kids. And then B, respect and tolerance and acceptance of the LGBTQ community. And those are the things that are on.
And I think C, like just to
trial,
add one, because I do think there's a C to that. I think C also is like who's making those decisions and who has the power over that and who has the pull in our communities to decide that and make those decisions. So I agree with you. I think A, B, and C, and I think C would be an interesting to talk with Scott a little bit tomorrow about, like, regardless of which side of the fence you sit on, why does somebody feel like they have the authority or the ability to dictate, what is on display at a library, what's served at a restaurant, what's done, who gets, regardless of the social situation or what is being decided or debated, who's getting to decide that stuff. Like in the post, he specifically says how much money county commissioners, I forget how he said it. I could pull it back up, but basically how much money county commissioners have to do with what goes to the library. And how much say should a county commissioner have in what's actually displayed at the front of a building?
I think and I don't know if the post was ever edited or I think in one aspect, maybe I go through and find it. He told people, and maybe in the one that you read, did he tell people to call the library and tell them to take it down?
So in the one that I read, I do not remember. No. So he doesn't call for anybody to actually call and have it taken down at all. So I'm not sure.
Okay, I read that somewhere.
Okay.
And I think
there was no call to action in the post that I had read. The one that got me is county commissioners provide just under $1.3 million for 6 county libraries. So, I think it goes back, like you made the point of, like, it's Pride Month. There's a book display, and so it goes together. And so that's their job, is to decide what to display. And should a county commissioner get to decide what's actually displayed within a library, regardless of what side of the fence they sit on? There's a ton, like you said, ABC. There's a lot of different ways to go about this and talk to Scott about it.
On what's on his Facebook page right now, after yours ended with age. These books are geared at children and have no idea what sexuality or gender identity is at that age. on his post right now. Maybe it just got cut off when I screenshot you. Please contact the library and ask them to be removed from being on display. Kids need to be kids. And that's where his post really ends.
Okay.
So anyway, it is I got to get back. Whenever I jump away, I'm worried that people lose me and they want to see me.
Yeah.
So it's we'll see. It's there. You're right. C is just as important as A and B.
Yeah.
There's lots of avenues to discuss this, and not just with this topic, but how society sees things and handles things and deals with things. Because right now, in 2021, society has proven that we don't handle disagreement well. We're getting worse.
I also think too, and you and I touched on this because we didn't have a heated conversation, but we kind of got into it. And one of the points that I thought was made well was, I think this is something where you really need context to really talk about it. Because in order for me to talk about it based just off of this post, I don't think it's going to do the service to the conversation it should, which is why it would be nice if we could have Scott come in and get like a full context. And that's not so that Scott can defend himself. It's really more so because like I know Scott has talked about these issues in a broader light. And he has made stands on the issues that necessarily in the post, you could make other arguments in the post. So I think it's good if he were to come in and we could have some context with it. I would appreciate it because really all that I have to go off of is the post. And none of the other, like I personally have never heard Scott talk. I've never met Scott. I've heard about the things that he stands for and kind of what his platform is. But I think it would be nice to actually get to hear that before kind of talking about a Facebook post.
Now, before you even meet him, I need to throw this. He's a Jets fan.
Well, that's a problem.
So, like, that's where we're starting.
No, that's.
I would make fun of that he's a Mets fan too, but the Mets are really good now, so we're gonna back off.
So here's what we can do. We will obviously post to North Central PA. We will post to the Midday Show group. And we'll let people know if he's able to come on or if it's worked out.
And I should mention this too. Carrie Pauling, our news director, had a sit down with him and Tony this morning, and she's writing up a follow-up as we speak. So there will be a written article today at some point. I don't know what time she's planning on posting it. But so yeah, it is it's interesting. What people should see, this would be our gift to the world. People should see us argue off the air and how, sometimes we really, really disagree.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I still think you're an intelligent guy. At the end of the conversation, we get along and we're, whatever. And society's lost the ability to disagree intelligently and just be like, well, that's your opinion. That's my opinion.
Well,
you have a different viewpoint than I have a different viewpoint. And we're still not idiots. We're just.
One of the first things that you and I talked about, the Facebook post, is immediately when you and I started giving our opinions, I don't think we were initially talking about the same thing.
You're right.
It actually took us 5 or 10 minutes to for me to realize that you're talking about a social issue and I'm talking about like a legal issue and what can we actually do. And then once we began to realize that and sort it out, then we started to actually touch base of like how I felt about what you were talking about, how you felt. So I agree with you. I think that's why I went along with the idea of context, and it would be nice to have him come in, because I think for a lot of people, they're going to read that Facebook post. And I'm not saying people can't be upset or shouldn't be upset, but I think what's going to happen is they're going to attach on to issue A, or they're going to attach on to issue B, or attach on to issue C. And like you and I agree, there's a lot of different things to unpack here with this.
Well, and when I never thought about it till you just mentioned that, because so many topics in life aren't just issue A. There's an A, a B, a C, a D, whatever. And how many arguments never get solved because you're talking about point C and I'm talking about point B, and we can't even get to the point to like, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. I agree with that, but I'm talking about from this angle.
A couple of times last night, you and I got into it last night a little bit, and I finally, after I would let you talk for like 5 minutes, finally, at the end of the 5 minutes, I remember I said and looked at you and I was like, but you're not talking about what we were just talking about. And you said you're right, and you would double back and go back. So like, you're right. Society has kind of lost the ability to like talk that way, and it's okay, and we'll figure it out. And I don't know. So I think it would be really interesting to have Scott on tomorrow and be able to really like dive into some of these issues with the context right here in front of us.
Yes, and it's really, and the reason,
and again, I can't stress enough, not to necessarily defend Scott, like more so just to clarify and be able to like really like, because there a couple of this stuff I would like to ask him, like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Or, like, why did you think?
Oh, I got some fun questions. I mean, it is, yeah, I agree. But I think one of the other things too, that I think why we never really fight is because the whole purpose of discussions, so many people go into it with like, I will not be happy until the other person comes to my side.
Sure.
Whereas I don't need you to come to my side of the argument. I just need you to hear what I'm saying and understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
And then at the end, if you still disagree, you still disagree, and that's great. But there are some people that just browbeat everyone until, unless you agree with me, then you're an idiot and we can't be friends.
Yes. My biggest thing is like, people say that I come off sometimes as challenging, but really like I want somebody to just crack it so I understand, like, so that I see something different. And if I feel like you can't crack it, then I must be on to something.
When you say crack it, you mean your skull? You want someone to crack it?
I don't want someone to crack my skull. I'm just saying, like, I want somebody to show that there is a flaw in my thinking. And the only way for me to get to that point is to like challenge, right? Like to, So I agree with you, but most people would see that as like threatening or demeaning or so.
Yes. I had a guy, I used to work with a guy, who a very bright guy. And we are very different politically too, but I love him. He's a very smart guy. And I was giving him advice one time on how to handle something. And I even caught myself and stepped back. And I was like, listen, you've been doing this longer than me. And I'll never forget what he said. He's like, listen, I already know all I know.
Yeah.
The only way I'm going to get smarter is if I hear things that other people know that I don't already know. Right. So if you ever have anything to say to me, advice or a suggestion or whatever, give it to me. And then I'll sort through whether I like it or not.
Right.
But it was so well, like, I know what I know. The only way I get smarter is if I learn stuff you know that I don't already know. And it's but people are afraid of people. There's a lot of people that are uncomfortable in the situation where, like, I go in thinking I know something about a topic, and then you bring something, and now it forces me to step back and say, oh, he might be right there. That's a really good point. And there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable saying that, like, oh, I thought I had all the answers and I don't. And in this topic, he may know more than I do.
People really don't like to say, I don't know.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing that I've noticed is people really don't like to say they don't know something.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's very
Let's spin the wheel. That was good. Let's spin the wheel. Hopefully we'll have Scott on tomorrow.
I wonder if he's a member. I wonder if we could have Scott as a winner on the midday.
He might be a member. He could be a winner. Join the Midday Show Facebook group for a chance to win. Every day we randomly select a name. It spits it out, and then that person gets a spin at the wheel that Mark is so gracious.
Mark is not doing well this week.
Mark's not having a hot week. Thank you to Weiss Markets. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. How many times have you gone there so far this week?
I'm going there today. I haven't been there yet today.
There you go.
I'm in Wise. For whatever reason, I'm there 4 days a week.
Okay. No, you need stuff. People need things.
And it's because they're so vast. Like, you go like grocery shopping once a week or whatever. Yeah. But just to pick anything up, like, I'm with you. It's a good time to be alive.
Weiss Markets, we have gift cards, $100 gift card, a $50 gift card, or a $25 gift card to Weiss Markets. We also have Moon and Raven Public House, $25 gift card. We have Eat and Run Catering, $25 gift card as well. And we also have the Break Room. In case you're looking to blow off some steam here in Lycoming County, you can go to the Break Room, $25 gift card.
I feel like Vanna White today, just because
you're crushing it. Vanna White's younger than you, right?
That is so not funny.
I knew you'd like that. She's aged nicely, though. Today's random winner from the Midday Show Facebook group is Thomas Wagner. Thomas Wagner.
Has there been anyone in life who's had a cushier job than Vanna White?
Well, I don't know. Yes and no. What do you mean by cushier?
I mean, other than somebody who like inherited, it was like Paris Hilton, who probably didn't even have a job.
I've always wondered. I agree with
her skill set is to walk across the stage, press a button, walk back. She makes small talk with Pat Sajak for 30 seconds at the end of the show.
I a little bit like. I'm assuming when you're in that position, especially during the time in which she did it, you had to stay in shape. You had to watch your figure.
Yes.
There were definitely some societal things that nowadays that are unacceptable that then she probably had to deal with them. But here's what I've always said about the whole Vanna White thing. Do you think the first time she did that job, do you think she left and was like, well, I'll be doing this for the rest of my life?
But back then,
there's no way she thought that's what
she used to have to spin the letter. It would light up.
That's true.
And she spun it. Now she just goes over and presses a button.
That's true.
But no, that's
the first. I just imagine her the first night walking off, and she imagine if she was just well, this will never last, or this isn't gonna work, and now it's 2021.
I mean, it is the easiest job.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Easiest. Seems hyperbolic. I don't know if it's the easiest job.
Then that is your homework assignment tonight. I want you to find one job that is as well paid and famous, and that's easier.
Chris Harrison's getting paid $8 million a year to sit at home now. Did you see that?
Who's Chris Harrison?
He was the host of The Bachelor. He got the boot. They settled out.
Oh, well, he got a severance package.
I'm just saying.
But when he hosted The Bachelor, that was a heck of a lot more work than Vanna White does.
I don't know. Not consistency-wise. I mean, she's got to do that Monday through Friday.
They filmed 18 episodes a day.
Who?
Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, I didn't know that. They do 18 episodes.
No, I was exaggerating, but they do more. They probably do 5 a day.
I was going to say.
Once they get there, and then she runs back and changes, and Pat Sajak changes, and then they bring new people out.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to look it up. I don't know if I agree with you. I don't know.
They don't do 18. I don't know how many they do.
This is a side note. Because of all the basketball players at Michigan now and they're Wagner, anytime I see Wagner, I want to say it's Wagner. Have you seen this at all?
No.
Yeah, because they're European. They're foreign. So they pronounce it Wagner, like Morgan Wagner.
Okay.
Mo Wagner. So I want to say Thomas Wagner, but it's Wagner.
There's a white guy named Mo Wagner?
Yeah. He's going to be a pro.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Actually, I think he is a pro. I think he plays for the Wizards.
He left. Michigan's going to be good.
Thomas Wagner.
All right, here we go. Not Mo.
Not Mo. Thomas.
Mo doesn't need
This is Tommy Boy.
Here we go. 100. I knew I couldn't miss. I knew it.
Good for Thomas. I'm happy for him.
Look at that.
Aren't you happy for Thomas?
$100 gift card. We have to kind of zoom to make, but he won. Can you tell?
No, I'm really happy
for him. He won.
For him.
$100. There we go.
I am happy for him.
Good for
Let's
Thomas.
do, I'll leave it up to you. We can go back to Bill Gates. We can talk about gun violence, or we can talk about super teams, good or bad.
Let's go. The other ones are kind of timeless. Like the Bill Gates story is not, and the gun violence are just stats, so they're not going to change tomorrow. I mean, they will change by tomorrow, but not anything that we're dealing with. Let's just go to super teams, good or bad, and see how long it takes.
No, that's fine. So here's super teams, good or bad. Here's my whole thing, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. For anybody who's not watching the NBA playoffs, the Brooklyn Nets are unbelievably good, like scary good. They are better than what I think anybody thought they were going to be. Now, part of this was they weren't always able to play as a team. Like at the beginning of the season, they didn't have James Harden. Then they got him after a trade. Then they got Blake Griffin after, I believe he was what's the word I'm looking for? Like a buyout candidate. They got Blake Griffin. The Brooklyn Nets right now essentially have 4 Hall of Famers on their team.
Not
three of which are in their prime.
Is Blake Griffin a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's a watered down Hall of Fame.
Is it? I'm pretty sure he finished in the top 3 of MVP voting twice. Top 5, 3. If you're the best if you're one of the best 3 players in the league for a 3-year span, I mean, that's
maybe, and then the NBA is probably different. Juan Gonzalez has 2 major league MVPs, and he's not in the Hall.
Baseball is a train wreck, though. You can't compare it to baseball. I agree. The Basketball Hall of Fame is watered down. However, Brooklyn is loaded. And this was the argument that I had with some friends the other day. This is different than any other team before. And here's why. When Boston won it in the 2010 era, Paul Pierce had played for Boston his entire career. And the team was basically built around Paul Pierce. Like, you could say Kevin Garnett was a better player or Ray Allen was a better this, but really, like, that team was built around Paul Pierce and the idea that he was an all-star. And when Miami won in the mid-2010s and they had LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade had played his entire career in Miami. And that team was able to be built around the idea that Dwayne Wade was there and could play. And even in Golden State, you had Stephen Curry was drafted by the Warriors, and Klay Thompson was drafted by the Warriors, and Draymond Green was drafted by the Warriors before Kevin Durant came and tagged along. This is unique because nobody on this roster has a true affiliation to the Brooklyn Nets organization. It is a brand new head coach, a brand new coaching staff. Kyrie Irving has been there for 2 years, but really has played less than a year's worth of games. Kevin Durant has been there for 2 years, but has really been there for less than a year's worth. He literally didn't play last year.
Right.
James Harden came in the middle of the year. He's been injured on and off. Blake Griffin came in the middle of the year. This is going to be the most meaningless championship team to a city in the history of professional sports. Their jerseys might as well say Rec League 2021.
The Y League champs.
There's no affiliation to the city or the organization.
I agree with you when you went through it and said that it was built around Paul Pierce in Boston. It was built around Dwayne Wade, even though LeBron was better and whatever. And it was how they built in Golden State. This championship is built around Brooklyn because it was cool to go to Brooklyn. And they know the curse of the Knicks, and the Knicks can't win, and the Knicks owner's a moron, and the Knicks suck. But to go when they used to play in Jersey, now all of a sudden in Brooklyn, and I think that was the caveat that we can go own, because when you play for New Jersey, the New Jersey Devils dealt with this, the New Jersey Nets dealt with this. You are the poor stepchild of New York City, even though you're right there.
Right.
The Brooklyn, now you're hip.
Yeah.
And they got to go play in Brooklyn, and everyone's like, I don't want to be Nick because they suck. So let's go to – and also, it's the Barclays still, right? Did they rename it? Or is
it's the Barclays.
Is brand new, state-of-the-art in Madison Square Garden. It's historic, but it's old. It's the oldest venue in the NBA.
You know what's funny is I agree with you. I think everyone in the country agrees with you except for the people that live in New York City, which is another whole kind of they're going to win a championship. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying people won't come to the parade, but most of that city is not going to be happy that Brooklyn won a championship.
Well, you can't.
Which is also a weird caveat to this. Even the city itself isn't going to be thrilled.
Yeah, you can't buy tradition, and tradition has to be built over time. And it's one of the things when Major League Baseball is like, hey, this is what we'll do. We'll put an expansion team in Tampa. We'll put an expansion team in Miami, because there's all these northern people who love baseball up in the Northeast. The Northeast is in the Midwest. But all these New Yorkers, New Englanders that move down to Florida, and they love baseball, and they'll go support these baseball teams. So they were half right, except all these Northerners moved to Florida, and they still rooted for the Yankees, the Mets, and the Red Sox. And they're like, I'm not going to root for the Marlins. I hate the Marlins. I like the Red Sox, or I like the Mets, or I like the Yankees. So, it is the same thing. Hey, they play over here. I'm sure when people get tickets, it's cool to go. They might see Jay-Z, and who knows. Well, but they grew up. Their grandfather was a Knicks fan. Their dad was a Knicks fan. They grew up watching Knicks games, and now they just Brooklyn.
Yeah, the smartest thing MLB ever did was put Tampa in the same division as Boston,
and the Yankees.
And because that was the only way they sold tickets for. Now they ended up putting together some decent rosters over the last.
Yeah, they still don't sell many tickets, but they win a lot of games somehow.
Yeah. I think this is unique, whether, you and I have been babbling about hockey back and forth and stuff like that, but this is unique in professional sports because this will be the first time a championship team has won. And there is no...
Wait. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. They're not even in the finals yet.
They're going to the finals. They are. Have you seen them play at all?
How bad's Harden hurt?
It doesn't matter. That's the insane part. They're so good. They are destroying Milwaukee without James Harden. Like and Milwaukee is good.
They played. The first game was close.
Not really. It was closer, but it wasn't close.
It was within 10.
Yeah, but it was a 25-point game, like at the start of the fourth quarter.
Oh,
like it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Because this is. If you would have said to me 5 days ago, there's 8 teams left, Jeff. Who do you think can win the title? And I would have said to you, I think Brooklyn and Milwaukee might be the NBA championship. And even though they're playing right now, like I think those might be the 2 best teams left. And the insane part is Brooklyn is destroying them.
Well,
there's nobody on the West Side that can beat them. And realistically, Philadelphia has a shot, but if Embiid's hurt and they're not playing that great right now and they're not shooting it well, like Brooklyn is going to win the title.
See, now Philly shot it great last night.
Yeah, they needed to. They were due. It's been 2 or 3 games since they shot the ball.
Yeah, and you also wonder, like, I think this championship hurts Kevin Durant's legacy.
Yeah.
Because he's just, you're a champion when you surround yourself with the best players in the world. And, you can't. He's kind of the one NBA superstar who's basically said, I can't do it by myself.
Now,
I need help.
Now, if Harden stays hurt and Durant plays incredibly well for the next 3 weeks, it's still pretty impressive. Like the way they're winning these games, it's still really impressive.
Yeah, we'll see. Were these in Brooklyn? Are they going to Milwaukee now?
They are going to no.
Or were they in Milwaukee?
No, they were in Brooklyn, I believe.
Okay. Well, the tide's about to turn.
Is it?
2-2 heading back to Brooklyn. All the momentum.
It's pretty ugly.
It's what happened with the Islanders. See, and I know you want to talk hockey. The Islanders just won Game 5 on the road. And so did, I think, was Las Vegas down 2-0? Because Las Vegas just won Game 5 on the road, and now they get Game 6 back at home. So watch for Milwaukee to win 3 and 4 at home, and then come back to Brooklyn and just shock the world, and then four in a row for the Bucks. Here it comes.
Okay. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates somewhere that said he's leaving each of his kids $10 million.
Yeah,
that's it. Now it's like that's it. And we're like, I would take $10 million, but considering he's worth a gajillion.
Do you know the math on it?
On how much he's worth?
Yes.
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't even have a good guess. Do you?
I'll pull it up as you're talking.
Oh, okay. But it's an interesting point. And if you ever saw the movie, did you see the movie with George Clooney where he was the lawyer in Hawaii? And
he's worth $126.7 billion.
126 billion?
Yes, is his net worth.
Oh, geez. I can't think of the name of the movie, but his family was from Hawaii, and they had this big plot of land, and they were going to be uber rich, and they were going to send it to developers, and they all wanted the money, blah, blah, blah. And I can't think of it. Bo Bridges, I think, played his brother. I can't think of the name. But it was a good movie. But he had a great line in it. The family was rich and about to be rich, and he said, someone said to him, you want to give your kids enough money to do something, but not so much that they don't have to do anything.
No, that's
and I thought that was a fascinating line.
Yeah, no, that's a really great line. So let's do the math real quick, just to put it in perspective. 10 million out of a billion would be what percentage? You're smarter than me.
Well,
0.001.
It's 1%.
No, it's more than 1%, isn't it?
Of a billion? No, because 100.
Okay, so it's
100 million is 10% of a billion.
So it's 1%, and then he's worth over 100 billion.
So it's 0.1%?
So he left his kids 0.1%. From a percentage standpoint, good enough? Forget the money. Forget the dollar figure.
I mean, I'm sure his kids... Well, I was going to say, I'm sure his kids thought they were getting more. But he might have been saying all along, like, listen, I ain't leaving. They may be tickled.
If you left Jimmy 0.1%, what would Jimmy say?
I don't even know if that adds up to it. I guess is that zero? Do you have enough that you can have 0.1%? Listen, I always told my kids, be nice to your uncle. If that's the key to life for you, because, there's, there was Ellie and Malcolm had a successful kid, and then they had Mark. So, we'll just, so, Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder if you ask the kids if they're dumbfounded by it. And of course, this is just a report because he's alive. Like, it's all a rumor. It's not like his will has been read yet.
I think the interesting question would be, do you think they live a $10 million lifestyle?
That's a very good question, too.
Because that would be the kicker here. Because if they are living out a lifestyle that far exceeds the 10 million, that's a rough go.
I'd heard this about him, that his house was set so it could sense who walked into a room, and it adjusted the temperature.
Oh, wow.
Either it just adjusted the temperature when someone was in the room, or it could tell who it was and what they liked the temperature at. And it was bizarre. So yes, I'm guessing they've lived a little bit of a spoiled lifestyle.
I mean, yeah, you would think so.
But here's the other thing you have to keep in mind. This is what Bill is leaving them. Like,
sure,
Mom could be leaving them everything.
Or they may have collections, like they may have things already through do I call it a fortune? They may have things already through the fortune that would far exceed the $10 million.
It's a low number, though, considering how much.
Oh, when you do the percentage, it's not a lot.
But
it's low.
It's
for me, it's really a lifestyle thing. Like, if they're used to like going to benefits and going to like these things, but I don't know their lifestyle. I've never seen a Gates kid in the news in a story. They may be playing guitar and singing in a coffee shop. They might be eating burritos by a campfire.
Yes.
Like, I don't know their lifestyle.
Yes.
That's the real question.
Because you and me, 10 million, we could stretch that a long way. Thousands of years we could stretch that.
We could just put it all in Doge, right?
We could.
Do you want to hit me with your gun violence fact, or do you want to wait until tomorrow? It's up to you.
Now we can wait. I think we've covered enough.
Okay, we'll wait. No, that was good. Ollie, this is the real question. Do you want to do comments today?
I was going to say yes, but now that I hear your tone, hey, why not? Where's what is it? Fortune favors the bold.
Or do you want to wait? Because we're going to do a lot of these comments tomorrow.
No, let's see him. Because it's good. It'll be good to see him, even if we can't really.
So we'll do what we always do. We start from the bottom. We'll go, someone said to the moon. That's a Doge reference. To the moon.
Was that you? Are you firing out your own Doge comments?
No, I'm not. Deborah Williams, free speech is being canceled. Be honest here, guys. If you disagree with the current political agenda, you are racist or a white supremacist. Let's put the truth on the table. We won't dive into this because it's just the comments section. We try to do this briefly. But that one of the points that I did make to you was how, like, are people going to look at that Facebook post, and does it, like, are people going to overreact? Are they going to underreact? How do people react to that post? That was one of the first things I kind of hinted to you was.
If you disagree with
the current political agenda, you are racist or a white supremacist.
You are racist or a white supremacist. I mean, I guess it depends what aspect of the political agenda it is and what.
If it works for you or against you as well.
It's not when you peel every question away, the who, what, where, when, don't even matter. It's why. Yeah. Like, that's what. So. Whatever piece of legislation it is, the legislation itself probably isn't racist or white supremacist. But why was it in vote? Like in Texas and in Georgia, they're changing voting rights. Why are they doing it?
Sure.
Are they doing it just to make it harder for black people to vote? Why did they cut down on Sunday voting? Because so many of the black communities go to church and then vote, and they've talked about, and it seems like at least the way the media has presented it, maybe the liberal media has presented it improperly, which is a possibility, right. But all the changes to the voting laws are making it harder for the minorities to vote. So the question is, why are they putting in the laws? And that's
people. I mean, people. So if you would have just ended after why, I'm with you. I didn't even need the analogies. Like, I get that. I think that's one of the smartest things you've ever said on the show.
Wow.
Is
97 episodes in, I said something smart.
I think, to your point, we get so caught up in the who or the what or everything else that sometimes it takes us a second to really say, like, why? Like, what's going on here or why we're doing it. I should have thought of that earlier.
And just to remind everyone, I said Baylor was going to kill Gonzaga in the national championship game, and they won by like 70. So that was pretty smart, too.
Okay, Janet Duffield, I can't believe you wanted to go through these.
This is long.
Yeah,
wow.
When you read it to your kids, but quite frankly, I don't know my kids or grandchildren subjected to it, but everybody does sexually in their own house should stay in their own house. It's their business, not the world's. And it's nobody's place to push that stuff on our kids, any of it. This gets back to point A that you made about talking about how do you handle kids, how do you talk to kids, what's the right age, stuff like that. But it also comes back to the idea of, and you and I talked about it, like, it's hard to say that it's a private issue or that it should stay private when your county commissioner decides to make a public statement about it. And then it becomes harder and harder to keep it a private issue.
And the thing, I'd have to read this again. When you get a long text, because I'm not a reader, when one of your friends sends you a long text, is your first thought is, wow, that's long? Because that's when I saw her comment, I was like, I got to read.
You know why? Because I'm the long texter.
I got to read 3 lines.
I'm the long texter. Are we really about to wait for you to read this?
I don't know. My kids or grandchildren are subject to it. But everybody does sexuality in their own house, should stay in their own house. It's because it's a business on their own worlds. It's nobody's place to push that stuff on the kids. And see, I don't like the word push, because I don't think putting it on display is pushing it on anyone. It's just displaying it. So I understand a lot of Janet's point. I don't think because the library displayed it means they're pushing it. But I do understand it should be discussed in their own home. And that's the parents have the opportunity to check the books out, or the kids, like, this is how it's discussed. And a conversation I had with Carrie after she had interviewed Metzger this morning, when I had young kids, we had a topic like this. It was the same but different. There was a child who was around our kids who had Down syndrome. So my ex took them to the library. Well, they went to the library a lot. But one of the times they were at the library, she found a children's book on Down syndrome. So my kids could read it and could kind of grasp why this kid is different. And it was the best way for, I don't know whether they were 4 or 5 or 6, I don't remember the age, but they were young. But it was the best way for them to grasp. And the whole purpose of it was, this kid is different and it's okay. And that's what I think the message is. And I haven't read these children's books either. I don't know what's in them. I don't know if they're written by PhDs or if they're written by Joe Schmo in the corner. But the point that I made, and I'll make this to Metzger tomorrow and Tony if they come on, is whether you're talking about a 4-year-old or a 10-year-old, depending on the age is how deep the material can get and how much clearer you can explain it. But even if all we explain to these kids is that the people are different and that's okay, if that's the entire message you give to a 4-year-old, then that's good. That's what society needs, because we're showing Asian people getting beat up in the street and their only difference is they're Asian.
Yeah. Well, topic D may be like, our kids are so exposed to everything else that they're seeing, like what. So there is a learning curve there of like, what does a 5-year-old actually know today versus what a 5-year-old knew in
That's a fascinating topic.
2010. So that plays into it a little bit as well. I appreciate your analogy. I think the point that you are making is well taken. I would say to you, the only difference though is like with a health condition, as you're growing up, you're not trying to figure out a health condition versus where you may be internally trying to discover who you are. And I think that would be the difference between reading a book based off of the example you gave versus reading a different book.
See, yes, and I think the topic.
So I appreciate your analogy. I think you hit the right point. Like the point you're making with the analogy made sense. I'm just saying though, like, I do think there's a deeper topic there. Like, I think there's something deeper than understanding like a medical condition.
I think too that the and this is one of the things I would say to Scott if they come on tomorrow with us, is the people who are against it, the people who think the display should be taken down, and again, just in fairness to them, they didn't say the books should be taken out of the library. They just don't want the display. They want them on the shelf. But they are looking at it from the side of the quote unquote normal kids. And they're trying to protect the normal kids from possibly, in their mind, being swayed to this lifestyle that in their world is not normal. The other side is looking at it. What about the kids who are LGBTQ and who are already feeling confused in their own life? And I'm not an expert. I don't know when do they start to question at 4? Do they start to question at 8? Do they start to question at 10? And if we sat down with a room full of LGBTQs, they could probably tell us in their own when they started questioning their identity and their sexual identity and their gender, and all that stuff. But if you look at it from the side of those kids, of the minority, and just to say, you're not the only one like this, it is okay, because the suicide rate is infinitely greater amongst the LGBTQ community than it is amongst the normal community. And that's the side that's the difference. It depends which kids you're defending. And and my aspect is from again, I keep going the air quotes with the normal kids. All I'm trying to teach the normal kids and all I'm trying to teach my kids is people are different and it's okay. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what religion they are. We have Dan, our intern, who comes in and we were talking about stuff this morning. He's like, listen, I was the only Jewish kid in my class. And there are places in society, there are places in Lycoming County where that would be bad. You can't be a Jew. What do you? So that's a question that I would have for Scott. What if you had a Hanukkah display? Is that bad? Because the vast majority of central Pennsylvania is Christian, if they have a religious affiliation. When I lived in Baltimore, there was a huge Jewish community. You live here, there's hardly any Jewish community. So should we not? Is it okay to have Hanukkah books, but we need them on display because those people are saying that Jesus is not the Savior. The Savior hasn't come yet. And I don't want my Christian kids to be exposed to this belief that the Savior hasn't come yet. So that's where it becomes such a touchy situation.
That was good.
And I shouldn't have ended that sentence with situation. I was doing very well, but situation is not.
You're fine. 2 more here. Let's go. Amanda just posted, do you think celebrating difference is forcing the ideology on others? Could the purpose of the display possibly be to teach empathy? And to all those who are trying to say this is being forced on others, no one is forcing you to check those books out for your children. No one is forcing you to read them. Yeah, it's not so much that there's a line. This is the funny part is when you and I first started talking about this, I don't feel like I'm on a side of it, but I do wonder, it's funny how to some people forcing you is for some people forcing is reading, for some people forcing is you looking at the display, for some people forcing is it being in the store. So it's weird how people find different levels of justification, I guess is what I'm saying. Did that make sense?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
So it all depends on who you're talking to and how they feel about it. Because there are people that would say give the books out for free. There's people that say they should be displayed all year. Then there's people that say they shouldn't be displayed at all. There's people that would say that they shouldn't even be in the store. So it's amazing to me how many different levels there are to this and just how people justify it depending on their beliefs and what they want.
I think the word, and again, we need to put a word limit, a character limit on responses, because that's 2 in a row I had to read that were 3 lines long. Empathy is the aspect, and how much when you see, I heard a story in this, that a friend of mine who was a pastor who had a friend that he grew up with was gay. And I don't know at what point in life the guy came out or whatever the case may be, but they're childhood friends, and one guy's a man of the cloth and the other guy's gay. And they were discussing it, and he was talking about stuff, and the gay guy said to the pastor, he said, do you think if I wouldn't trade lives with you? If I could have a wife and 2 kids and a white picket fence, my life would be so much easier. But that's not me. And when you hear that when some people see somebody who's LGBTQ, they get scared because they're different and people are scared of things that are different, or they're afraid that they're going to infiltrate and they're going to try to take over the world. And then other people feel, as I can't remember her first name, feel empathy and think, God, it would be hard to live. It would be a lot harder to live in our modern society being LGBTQ than it would be to be, a straight heterosexual. And like, I feel sorry for these people because they deal with a lot more discrimination than I do.
Let's go with this last one to end.
Sure, I like it.
I want to tell this story. Ken Mattson, and not to put anybody down. We love everybody who watches it, whether you agree with us or not. We appreciate you. We appreciate
love
your
Ken.
We
love Ken the most.
Ken he's my favorite. I think he's becoming Mark's favorite if he isn't already. I really appreciate Ken. And this is the best part about it. I know he hates us. I know he disagrees with pretty much everything that probably comes out of our mouths. But I think it's important to know that Ken, like, you are seen, you are heard, and we just hope you keep coming back, because I really meant it. I left him, and I sincerely meant it. I know that he was a sailor, so I wanted to let him know because of just Memorial Day and everything else, like, appreciated his service, and I sincerely meant that when I posted it to him. So Ken, even though I recognize we are not your cup of tea, I hope that you continue to come back and hopefully maybe someday we can figure this out. Maybe we can talk about something that we see eye to eye on at some point.
Probably not. You have never, how many ex-girlfriends do you have in your life? Like 40?
How many do I
You
have?
don't have any ex-girlfriends who hate you more than this guy does.
Ken?
Yes.
Probably not. I mean, I don't want to speak for my ex-girlfriends, but I don't think Ken hates me. I don't think he hates me. Do you think he hates me?
I think he hates us.
He gave me a thumbs up when I commented on saying thank you for your service. So he did. So he knows. Like, he knows I care.
Does he?
I think so. You don't think Ken Mattson knows I care?
I get it. I just don't understand why you would watch a show that you hate. That's the part that,
well, maybe he just loves North Central PA, and we just keep coming up on his feed.
He can't scroll.
He just can't avoid. He just can't. Like, I don't want him to scroll. Stop and I want him to stay with us.
No, and I get that, and he will, but isn't there something off if you enjoy doing things that make you angry?
I talk to you every day.
But I don't make you angry every day. Only once in a while.
Okay. Anything else? It's gonna be a great. Tomorrow, hopefully Scott will come on,
and I think we just had a peaceful talk, and I don't he was genuinely surprised at the uproar, and I'm like, you didn't see this coming? That's kind of where the conversation is going to start, and then just to go from there. But like we talked about, A, B, C, D. What should we be teaching our kids? Who should be teaching it? What does this say to the LGBTQ community? And who makes these decisions?
Right. What is the power of a county commissioner? Like, why? Like, should you be making that decision? And if so, then why? I think those are real questions.
And if Tom Mattson was a county commissioner, could he be able to walk in NCPA and say, take those two morons off the air?
Ken Mattson?
What'd I say? Tom Mattson?
Don't get Ken's name wrong.
What's his name?
Ken.
What'd I say? Tom? I used to work with a guy named Tom Mattson. That's why I got it wrong.
Well, this guy's Ken.
But Tom liked me.
And Ken served for you, so remember the name.
Tom might have served too.
He may have.
Did I get that? I can't believe I got that wrong. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, Ken. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, Ken.
Ken.
I'm more sorry to Tom because Tom liked me.
I think if Ken, if you are still listening by any chance, if you would like to come on Friday for the 100th episode, it would make my day.
That would be fun.
Make my day if Ken Mattson would join us for the 100th episode. Can you imagine a back-to-back feature? Thursday, Scott Metzger. Friday, Ken Mattson, and we're going into the 100th episode.
And people only know if you just watch, if you don't read the comments, Ken doesn't have a lot of nice things to say about us.
I want him around.
He doesn't give us thumbs ups.
It's not even about winning him over. It's not even about winning him over. I want him around, and I think he could come on. Realistically, what are we? Scott is waiting to see if the other county commissioner.
He's going to talk to. I think my guess is they want to do they want to just let it die at this point? Do they not want to talk anymore? I don't think it's going away. I heard Glad was contacted, and and I think he wants to know if they both want to come on together because they both voted the same way. Even though Scott's the one that posted it, but Tony voted with him. I guess Tony drafted the letter to the library that was asking him to take it down. So I think they're just trying to figure out what the best way to handle this. They weren't like, it wasn't dismissive, like, yeah, we'll get back to you. I think they're trying to put together a plan and figure out what's best.
Right. I truly believe like we would be the best format for them.
We'd be great.
I really do. Because I think what would happen is you'd actually get to have a discussion. I think it wouldn't just be, I don't think we would get walked over, but I also think like, we would allow them to kind of speak and say their side. Yeah,
I love talking with people with different opinions, and people who think you should bunt in second and third, and I was like, why? There's in so much it's just right and wrong, and I mean it's not right and wrong, it's just opinion. Right. Do you play man to man or do you play zone? Do you full court press? Do you foul when you got a 3-point lead? It just depends why. Right. Why do you foul if you have a 3-point lead, or why don't you foul? And if you have a good reason, you have a good reason. And everything can work and everything can fail.
No, I'm with you. Here's last one. Joe Garrison made a decent comment. You want people who disagree with you on the air. That's much more interesting than surrounding yourself with like-minded people on a show and in life itself, which is kind of what you and I.
No, Joe, I disagree with that.
I see what you did there.
I'm glad you caught that. Who was the one that said something about Mark? You said people you don't like, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that was just Cliff posted, I don't understand why you would watch a show you hate. You had said that. So Cliff says, smiles and looks over at his TV with Fox. So
you know what's funny?
He enjoyed that.
And I'm more liberal than conservative. I'm somewhat of a centrist, but I'm more liberal than conservative. But during like election stuff, when all the talking heads are there, I flip to all of them because I know that it's hard to get a balanced. I thought last election coverage, even though Biden was, I thought Fox was great. I really did. You know what?
Even like I'm a registered Republican, and there's a lot, like the majority of the time, I cannot stand Fox News. Drives me insane. I agree with you. Like I thought that was the most normal I had ever felt having Fox News on the TV was during an election night.
I will never watch an election night and watch just one. I think I watched a lot of Stephanopoulos. Is he on ABC? But I will never watch just one because we're smart enough to know there's slants. There's right slants, there's left slants, and sometimes it's better to hear both sides. You're like, oh, that's a good point. You turn on the Pittsburgh Steelers pregame show, they're gonna win 40-0. Then you turn on the pregame show from the other team, and you're like, oh, they have some good players too. And so
this is pretty great. Our house always watches the losing network on election day. It's so much fun. I never thought of that. It would be like if you were watching. It's like if you were a sports fan. Like it would be like if you were a Yankees Red Sox fan. Like if you were a Yankees fan and you were beating the Red Sox, but you decided to watch the Boston broadcast of it. That's essentially what it is.
That is so like mean yet funny.
It's
at the same
good.
time, it's one of the things I love about the losing network. And, I was an Obama supporter. I guess he's still alive, but he's not the president anymore. But his first debate was it Romney? One of his first debates, he was asleep. And I remember watching this and I'm like, God, this is a bad performance. I can't wait to hear what they say. And they went to some girl at Democratic headquarters. She's like, we think he did really well. And we think he hit all the points. And like the polls are coming in and they're like, 22% think he won. And he got Saturday Night Live's making fun of him a couple of days later. Yeah. And I just felt so bad for the girl. Cause I just like in sports, that's one of the beauties of sports compared to politics. Coach comes out and say, we sucked tonight. We couldn't make a shot. We didn't guard anyone. We were terrible. But in politics, they never do. There's no way after a debate,
right?
Either side's camp is going to come out and say, yeah, that wasn't his best.
Right. You can't give it.
They're not. They're going to blow it. Oh, he was wonderful. And the whole rest of the world is saying he was awful.
Amanda Waldman brought up the idea of bringing in Marabito as well. I don't know if we could get them all in at the same time.
A fist fight. They would just grapple and.
But we could probably reach out and see about doing a separate. Maybe we could do the front end and then the back end. You know what I don't know.
See, here's what, and I don't even know about this topic. This would be because you and I look at the world a lot the same way. For me to talk to Marabito, what I think would be interesting is what it would be like to be a Democratic elected official in such an overwhelmingly Republican area.
Sure.
So not just about this topic, but just overall. I mean, you look at Slaughter, who is a democratically elected official, but he's just for the city of Williamsport.
Right.
And the city of Williamsport is much more Democratic than, he called it the donut, I guess, once. There's like the city of Williamsport is a lot of liberal, and then around it is Republican. So that's what I would find curious. Like, what challenges do you have? Because you are always the minority on every vote, on every topic, and so that's what I would find, not just about this, but about everything. But I'm afraid from our aspect, since 70% of our audience is Republican, that we would make 70% of the people bad because they couldn't appreciate the conversation.
See, I would like to talk to Marabito about like issues like B, C, and D, because I think we already I'm assuming we know what Marabito how he probably feels about, like, he already voted against it. But I would be interested to hear him talk about some of the same things as far as like, how much pull does a county commissioner have? Like, should it matter? Should you have say in what's in the front of the library? Like those types of things. And also too, like questions about our kids and like what, how do we handle this? Like, what do we do? So there are like underlying questions that I think would be interesting to get the conflicting, commissioners against one another and hear their responses to. But I would want to do it questions that we don't know the differents,
Agreed.
Like that. I think that would be really interesting to have Marabito on and talk about as well.
I agree with that.
All right. Well, hopefully we start with Metzger tomorrow.
Hopefully.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Be sure to go to Weiss Markets for all your grocery needs. Thank them for being our title sponsor. And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Be sure to go there for all your local news. Mark had hinted at it earlier. Be sure to come to NorthcentralPa.com to check out our newsletter, Carrie Pauling's story about Metzger in the Post later today. I don't believe it's up yet.
She interviewed Tony and Scott this morning. I don't think it's up yet, but it's coming.
Yes. And then tomorrow.
And it's funny too. I need to throw this in too, just as a reporter, as they're talking about it. I don't remember which one, but they asked what they said to her, because she's telling me it's like, well, what do you think? And she's like, I'm not writing about what I think. Like you're the commissioners, you made the post. Like I'm just reporting it.
Yeah. And
it's one of the challenges of being a reporter with a lot of these stories. It's like, unless you're making an editorial or an op-ed piece or whatever, but he's like, it's not my opinion. I'm not writing my opinion. I'm writing your opinion because you guys are the elected officials.
It is funny. Like sometimes I think you and I have it easier, and then sometimes I think you and I have it harder. Because I think sometimes it's easier for us because, like you said, like we can kind of give our opinion and we kind of say, here's how we viewed it, or here's what we think and stuff like that. But on the flip side too, like you have to have your opinion, and you've got to like I don't know about you, like I really try to think about some of the stuff we talk about before we come on here and talk about it. Like I really try to like.
You pretending I don't?
Nah,
Or are you saying you listen to my responses and you're like, Mark didn't give 2 seconds of thought to that?
Well, I don't know what you give 2 seconds of thought to, but
hockey playoffs.
But I do think, like, to your point, like, I think Carrie's challenge is almost the opposite of our challenge.
Yes,
right?
I agree with that.
And it is a challenge. Like you have to try to give an unbiased, unopinionated version of the story. And we're lucky that she does such a great job. And we're lucky at NorthcentralPa.com that we're able to kind of do that.
No, I agree. I agree.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Sorry we were late.
Sorry we were late today. We'll try not to be late tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching. This was the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. And we will see you tomorrow.